In any multiple regression situation, there's a possibility of an interaction between two or more of the independent variables. Typically, with two continuous independent variables, the question of an interaction is not usually of much concern. When one of the independent variables is a dummy, that is a 1-0 variable, the possibility of an interaction may be of interest. First of all, let's talk about what an interaction is and how it is measured. To see an interaction, we're going to insert another column here, and we're going to say that this variable is x1, x2. In other words, it's the multiplicative value of length of stay times sex. So here we have equal the length of stay of 3 days times the 0, which indicates males. And if we click this all the way down, we now have zeros in the interaction term for all males, and we have the length of stay in the interaction term for all females. This is an interaction term. And the interaction term can be part of the regression analysis, just as are the two variables length of stay and sex. Let's see what that means. We'll go to Tools, Data Analysis. Regression is selected. We'll say OK. Now the dependent variable is still total charges. The independent variable set now is length of stay, sex, and the interaction term. Labels in the first row. The output range will be G1, and when I say OK, I now get this result. And we've accounted for 92% of the variance. Here's the coefficient for length of stay, here's the coefficient for sex, and here's the interaction term. Here are the p-values. Length of stay is a statistically significant predictor of charges. Sex is a statistically significant predictor of charges, but the interaction term is not. Given that result, in this case, we would say that the interaction term adds nothing to the regression, and in our final analysis of the data, we would leave it out. But let's look at another case in which we would not leave out the interaction term. Let's look at this new set of data. It is very much like the other, except we have changed the zeros and ones representing sex so that we have a different set of values for the independent variable sex. I'm going to put the interaction term into this one, x1, x2, and again I will create it by multiplying the length of stay times the dummy variable, and click this all the way down. And now we have length of stay, sex, and the interaction term. Let's see what happens when we go to Tools, Data Analysis, and Regression. And these values should all be appropriate since this data set is the same as before. So I'll just say OK. And here's the output. Now we've accounted for 86% of the variance, but let's look at these coefficients and their p-values. Length of stay is a statistically significant predictor of charges. Sex is a statistically significant predictor of charges. And the interaction in this case is a statistically significant predictor of charges. So what does this mean? Well, let's go back and insert another column, and we'll create total charges, predicted. Total charges predicted will be equal to the coefficient on length of stay, which will be fixed with an F4, times length of stay, plus the coefficient on sex, which will be fixed with an F4, times sex, plus the coefficient for the interaction, again fixed with an F4, times the interaction, plus the intercept, which is again fixed with F4. Now if I click this down, I have all the predicted values for total charges. Now let's look at this again in a graph. I'm going to highlight length of stay, hold down Control and highlight the actual value of charges and the predicted value of charges. Go to the chart wizard, select the XY scatter chart, and finish. Now when I've finished, I have two predicted lines as I had before, but now, because of the statistical significance of the interaction terms, this set of prediction lines goes here, and this set goes here, and basically they're crossing. Let's look at what that means. One set of predicted values starts here and goes up like this. And the other set of predicted values starts here and goes like this. That is what is meant by an interaction term. The predicted lines cross one another at some point.